everyone. Welcome back to Single Mother by Choice. My name is Martine, and today is the day. I want to share with you what happened. It's crazy. Let's get into it. All right, so if you are not up to date, I'm going to link the video where I did make a PSA for Single Moms by Choice. So a quick recap of what happened was that I was hemming and hawing after I gave birth to my daughter and really thinking about whether it was possible and if I really was ready for baby number 2. I kind of felt I was ready the minute I pushed her out. I was like, oh, I could do this again. I'm ready. But I was emotional. I just gave birth. And so I'm like, let me just pause, not make any hasty decisions. It's not like, oh, let me just go get a dog at the pound. This is, a baby, a life, a human that I'm going to be responsible for financially, emotionally, and all of that stuff. So I said, let me just not make a rash decision in my, haze of joy and happiness, right? So I waited, and anyway, long story short, I would check in periodically on the donor. He was available, 25 vials, awesome. Went in one day, maybe a month and a half later, gone, all gone. Tears were shed. Not really, but I was on the verge, and I was really upset about it because I wanted my daughter to have a sibling from the same donor. But, I had to make peace with it. Things just didn't work out. So I had to go back to the drawing board, and thank the goodness, I want to share this tip. I don't know if I said it in the first video, but I want to share this tip with all of you, that when you are, and it kind of came up again in a different situation. There's another person who's trying to conceive, and she had selected her donor. She hasn't started the conception part yet, or trying to conceive part yet, but she's preparing for it. She had selected a donor, and then that donor no longer was available when she felt like she was ready. So again, this is a big tip that I would give to anyone, and it worked out for me. So I think it's something good to have in your knowledge base. Please select more than one donor, just in case. Have a list, I say, of 3. 5 would be okay, but 5 is hard to come by. We're gonna find 5 donors you're in love with. It's not like that. Once you start looking through donors in different cryobanks, it's not like all of them are what you're looking for and what you would want for your child, and whatever. So, and have all the things that are required. For me, it was complicated with the CMV negative. I had to pick a donor, and this time too had to be a CMV negative donor. I wanted an open ID. So all these criteria that you may have, you're not gonna find that in more than maybe 3 people. So definitely have a top 3 of donors that you would like. And I suggest calling the clinic, finding out if they share that. I don't know. I haven't done that myself, but I think it might be a good idea to find out hey, how many siblings or how many children has this donor conceived? Have they reached their max yet? Are they close to reaching their max? Because with some clinics, once they reach their max of live births, they get off the market and they reserve some of that stuff for siblings. Not all clinics work the same way, so I would just call the clinic and just check out also to see, oh, this is a big one, which I ended up doing. Once I found out my donor was off the market, I emailed them and called them to see if the donor was still participating and willing to donate. So I would find out if the donor is retired or if they're still active. Because if they're still active, even if the supply goes down, eventually it'll come back up. And perhaps if the donor is still willing to participate, they're not actively participating, but they're willing to participate, it might be, again, another just thing for you to have, another piece of information for you to have, and to secure your donor when possible. Because I think if the donor is retired, had I known my donor was retired, I wouldn't have waited to purchase. I would have purchased on the spot. If I knew he was still active, then I could wait, because I know there'll be more being I feel like I'm talking about cheese, but it will be restocked, right? Like it will come back, like the numbers will go back up. There'll be more vials available in the future. But if he's retired, then whatever is there is there. And had I known that, I would have purchased. Had I known this next piece of information as well, I would have purchased. And so here's what happened to me just last night. I'm recording Friday, it's Sunday, but I'm recording Friday. So Thursday night, I put my daughter to bed, and that's when I like chill, decompress, whatever. And so I'm looking through my Instagram, and I saw that I had a message. So I went in and I read this mind-blowing message from someone who actually has been following me. And so I don't remember the details of how she found out my donor, but I am part of a Facebook group for the sperm bank I used, like a private group for people who've had babies through the sperm bank. And so I'd posted, I don't remember if you recall, I don't know if you recall, but I had gone in to find, and I found my daughter's like half siblings, her diblings. And anyway, so I think that's where she found me, or someone she knew. Anyway, I don't remember the details. But anyway, she found me through this Facebook group, I think through a friend. And she happens to be using the same donor that I used to conceive my daughter. Crazy. And guess where she lives? So she doesn't live in this country. She's from a country. I won't say the specific country, but she's from a country in Africa. And so she's in the process of going through her journey right now. And she says, my clinic has, I think, a couple of more vials. She's like, it's been a while, but I think the last time I looked, they had a couple of vials available. You should contact them. And so she gave me the clinic and all that stuff. And so last night, I was like, oh my God, God is good. I was so excited because I've been praying. Even though I had made peace with the fact that I was going to be using a different donor, which is fine. I made peace with that. I missed my opportunity. So I'm like, okay. However, in my heart, I still had the hope that somehow, somewhere, I would be able to find more of this guy's goods. Like he has to be somewhere, or maybe he'll suddenly want to like donate some more. I don't know. I was hoping in my heart that something would come up, and this came up, and I got so excited. I immediately went onto their website. I immediately started like emailing people. And because of the big time difference, I think it's like 6-hour time difference, I was emailing last night around 9:30, and so it was like middle of the night over there. And I didn't hear back until this afternoon, but yeah, so the important part, and I'll get to the result in a minute, but in the important part, I when I responded to this this young woman, I said, so how is it that this person donated in the US and that their sperm ends up in Africa? And so she let me know that sometimes, like in this specific country anyway, I don't know if that's true in all other countries or whatnot, or in how many other countries have this policy, but in that specific country, sperm donors are not allowed legally to be open donors. They cannot have an open ID. They all have to be anonymous. So this specific woman wanting to conceive wanted an open ID donor. So what the clinic does is that they go and purchase from other banks that have open ID, whether it's the US or I think the UK. They go to other clinics and purchase vials to provide to their clients. in that specific country. So I was like, oh my goodness. And it only hit me afterwards that perhaps they're the ones who kind of like bought out a lot of the vials from my sperm donor, which is like, I get, I'm happy for other people. I just like me, I would want to give my daughter and my future child the opportunity to get to know their donor dad, and to kind of like, if they have questions about medical stuff, things come up in the future, even if they don't want to really get to know them on a personal level, but kind of maybe medical things come up and they want to know more about their family history and things like that. Everyone should have that right. I find it shocking that some countries don't give that option. But you have to know, though, as someone who is preparing to TTC, another question or another thing you have to keep in the back of your mind is like, oh, wait, perhaps there are clinics around the world who are wanting to provide that service to their clients and may buy out a good chunk of a donor, a donor's supply. So that's something to keep in mind, because I always wondered, I had it in the back of my head, I'm like, how is it that in a month there were 25 vials and then they're all gone? And then people did bring up the fact that, I was blessed to get pregnant on the third try and only having to do IUI. That was like a complete blessing. And, I don't know if I'll be blessed again with the same outcome, but I was blessed in that way, not having to do IVF, not having to try and try and try and try and try. Like, I was very lucky, and I didn't consider that other people may have to try more than once, more than twice, and up to 9 times, 10 times. Some people just have to go through that to get their babies. And so I'm like, okay, so I get it. But in the back of my head, I'm like, still 25. Like, suddenly there was a blowout sale or something. Like, what happened? And so to me now, I realized once the situation occurred that, oh, maybe the clinic bought out a good portion of the vials to provide to their clients. And so here I am like, oh, it'll be fine. I can wait. And then it was gone. So keep that in mind. So a couple of things you have to keep in mind, like I said, when you're going through selecting your donors, take the extra time, take the extra step to call, find out if he's still active, find out perhaps if he's going to reach his max in terms of like live births, because some do have a max that they allow before they take the person off the market, so that they don't end up with like hundreds of children. And then also consider, they're not going to tell you, but consider the fact that perhaps other banks purchase from them to provide open ID donors in countries that don't have that as an option. So that's what I learned. But back to the result. Okay, so I emailed, and initially I emailed, I think, the wrong department. So I didn't hear back this morning. I kept checking. I was frantically checking. And so I went back to the website and I emailed, I looked more carefully this time, and I emailed what I think is the correct department. And pretty quickly they got back to me at that point. And it turns out my donor is no longer available. Now, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if they just don't want to like take things away from their clientele, because again, open ID in this particular country is not available with donors from that African nation. So I don't know. But the point is, fortunately or unfortunately, I believe in fate. I believe in things happening for a reason. And sadly, this time it's not going to work out. And I'm okay with it, because I'd already made peace with the fact that I wasn't going to be able to use the same donor. It was just like, last night I was like, oh my God, this is a miracle. And it is miraculous that, this is why I love this community. because look at what happened. Like, through this platform and through sharing and like being open, I was able to uncover, and meet someone from across the world who is going through the same thing and who happens to be using the same donor. And like, I think this is cool. So I'm wishing her luck. She's going to have her IUI next week. I'm having mine on Sunday. So maybe our kids will be, siblings, half siblings. We'll see if my daughter will have another half sibling to share the world with. That'll be exciting. And my IUI is Sunday, which is today, the day you're watching this. So wish me luck too, guys. We'll see what happens. But I do believe this happened for this reason, so I could share it with you all. It's something I didn't even think about. I didn't know. I didn't consider. It literally never crossed my mind. But I did wonder a lot about, why my donor just became unavailable so quickly. It seems like it's a regular practice in this particular clinic and, in Africa, that this is what they do. So just keep that in mind when you're selecting a donor, that really they may not be on the market. So that's why you need to have more than one option that you feel comfortable with available in case one person no longer is there for you to use. And you don't want to wait till the last minute where you're scrambling. You've already started your process of like taking medications and you think you're like ready to go, and then you go online to purchase and it's like, crap, now I have to start all over. And it's a daunting process if you haven't gone through it. It's like really daunting to go through and try to find, who's my baby daddy? Who's gonna be my baby daddy? It's like a big decision, and so it's not easy. And so it's better to be prepared ahead of time. If you can purchase immediately, do so. But if you can't, have the top 3 ready to go, and make those phone calls and find out information just so you can make a more informed decision of whether you need to buy immediately, if you can wait, etc. But keep all of these things in mind. And I hope this was informative and helpful, and I hope it wasn't a letdown. I really was excited. I'm still happy it happened. I mean, I think, again, I'm happy that it happened so I could share it with you and that I learned something new. I had no idea. So anyway, that's the story. That's the continuation of that PSA. If you have questions or concerns, keep in touch. I love hearing from everyone. I love just hearing your stories, and I appreciate the support that I get. But I like learning from other people, and so this was also a prime example of why it's important for us to talk to each other and communicate and get in touch. I'm very approachable. I'm not scary. So say hi. Let me know where you are on your journey, and also don't forget, if you're new, to go back to my first journey where I conceived my daughter, because things are different this time around than I experienced last time. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Wish me luck today. Today's the IUI. I'm gonna start that 2-week wait, man. That's not fun. But thank God I have a 1-year-old to keep me busy, and she has been keeping me busy. So anyway, that's it. I will see you next time. Wish me luck, and maybe I'll have some good news very soon for you. Okay, bye.